Hello everyone, hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to more CSGO news. And breaking news last night, a piece released by Richard Lewis will be linked down below for all of you. That's going to be Richard Lewis, as per usual, just calling out people, this time around StarLadder, of all the organizers out there, being called out for not paying out talent, especially when it came time for the StarLadder Berlin Major. As of right now, they have also responded in this case. Before we get into that though, it's actually Richard Lewis on stream. The clip has now been released out there as well, where he pretty much just blatantly says, directly says, hey, by the way, the TO not paying people, it's StarLadder.
All that, it's not even worth it. And then you have to deal with the TOs and chase payments. By the way, I meant to do this last podcast and I just forgot. When they talk about the TO that isn't paying, StarLadder, there you go. With that cunts. I'm so sick and tired of talent saying like, oh, these guys aren't paying, and I know who it is, and then the talent won't them out. Yeah, it's StarLadder the whole time. My dick.
And this is very huge news. We've seen it definitely hinted at over the past year or two from time and time again. A few talent out there have said some remarks about not being paid, but especially over the past 3 to 6 months, we have seen several CSGO talent hinted this. Banks was a very serious case, you know, alongside these Christmas holidays, let alone paying for gifts or his own rent. It was a pretty big issue that he was complaining about, having to wait for payments 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months out. And by the way, he also called out Unicorn, which maybe I'll get to in a future video, for still owing him $10,000, which he will never see that payment for. So Banks was a very serious case, seemingly alluding to around the StarLadder issue. Henry G also saying some big nukes would be dropped. I assume this was it, as we're going to talk about StarLadder's response to Henry G and other talent as well coming here in a minute. Even Vince has now come out and actually with a great video, a link down below for all of you, as to why people like him, talent, do not call out these companies. They don't call out tournament organizers because it's pretty straightforward, right? When it comes time to calling out the company who you want to hire you again in the future, if you call them out for not paying you in the past, well, maybe they're not going to hire you again in the future. So alongside the reasonings, it does make a lot of sense as to why a lot of these talent kind of keep quiet. They try and get paid as soon as possible, and they kind of try and urge their way there. But a lot of them, obviously like Banks and Henry G and others, have to wait a supposed long amount of time just to be paid out for a single event. Speaking of single events out there, StarLadder have now posted their official response. Anyone curious as to what that is, they believe the first response have now posted an official twitlonger as well. Hopefully this one stays up. And with that though, they consider the entire major cycle. They did a StarLadder Berlin Major as well. They consider that to be one major cycle or one gigantic event ever since the minors all the way through the grand finals. That is one event, and their goal is to pay out all the talent after completion of the event within 45 to 90 days. That does mean though, however, if you're a talented person, or a talent person I should say, working the minor system, and then maybe not working ever again throughout the entire major, you will still have to wait through the completion of the entire event, and then possibly up to 3 months afterwards, which obviously, as we all know, can be a very, very long time to wait for a payment or a check. And this was obviously the case with a few of the talent. Sponge is mentioned, Machine is mentioned, obviously Banks also added at pretty much all the CSGO talent out there who have possibly had issues with payment delays in the past, which seems to be a pretty relevant topic, a consistent topic out there for TOs. I'm sure there are a few out there who can pay on time, but a lot of them, it seems, based off these results so far, are just simply not paying on time. And unless you actually threaten to do something about it, that's what gets your name moved to the top of the list to actually be paid. Now, StarLadder in the response, very lastly, they touch on the Henry G issue and said he knew about the issue as well. He has now been paid out. They warned him about the banking issue on top of that. If you guys were curious as well, Henry was one of the few that came out and said he will not be working for StarLadder until his debts with them are actually resolved. Now, seemingly though, StarLadder wraps it up by saying that all talent have now been paid out for that Berlin Major, and that concludes this state of the argument, right? I'm sure it will continue on and on. We have several people out there now responding. Thorn, another one out there, giving his 2 cents on the times that TOs out there have simply really delayed their payments to a lot of talent. And when it comes time for 2020, I think we will hopefully see some better changes for a lot of these people out there who sacrifice a lot of their lifetime and a lot of their actual, everyday lives traveling for these events and giving all of their talent for these events. And hopefully something will change in the future. My 2 cents on this, obviously, when it comes time for major talent, waiting even 3 months for payment, that seems pretty strenuous, especially if you work early on in the event. Let's say you're working back in February, the event concludes in a couple months later, then you wait 3 months after that. If you're waiting 4, 5, 6 months for a single paycheck and you ride on that paycheck, I think we can all understand why that is certainly an issue for an up-and-coming talent in any scene out there. Because I don't know about you guys, now a lot of you are probably younger viewers as well, but when you probably start making some money out there, you'll realize in your bank account, or at least in mine, I don't have 6 months worth of rent ready to pay out. I need checks every other week, every month at least, so I can continue to pay things as basic as rent and car payments and food and so on and so forth. I totally understand where talent are coming from, and I really do hope this is the start of a great big change for talent come 2020 and beyond to be paid on time, and if not that, be paid sooner than 4 to 6 months after all of this does conclude. So congrats to, I shouldn't say congrats, a huge shout out to Richard Lewis for being, again, one of the few abrasive characters out there who just simply don't care about any backlash and can actually call out TOs like StarLadder. StarLadder have now responded. I'm sure this argument, though, will continue. And next up in the news for all you Brazilian fans out there, I love it. I love how passionate they all are. Of course, we know the rumor of the Brazilian major coming in 2020. I cross my fingers and hope it's so, and I hope as well these rumors are true. Brought to us by HLTV, the eatery does continue. Nom nom nom, delicioso. If you guys know what I'm referring to, that's going to be, we see it time and time again across several regions out there, especially when it comes to, I guess you could say Sweden, you could say Daneland. I'm sorry, Danish people, I know I always mispronounce that as well. We see it in North America as well. We see it in Europe. We see top teams out there in their regions, in their home regions. They can pick and pull talent from lesser teams of that same region. And Brazil, they are no stranger when it comes to that. We see Henny, of course, Henny being signed. All of a sudden, Henny goes to Furia. LG, they say, hey, we're out of CSGO. They were probably going to leave no matter what as they enter Call of Duty. But still, the fact is this, Henny leaves. LG also leaves. Alongside that, we see KNG. He leaves ENCE for MiBR. And ENCE, I should say, not ENCE, I apologize, ENCE, and that their major run now this time around. Will they make the major again without what we supposed to be their best player? Who knows? It does continue, though. Recent rumors, guys, MiBR wants another young gun Brazilian player. That's going to be Meyern from the Sharks. The Sharks have now entered the tank here of Brazilian lineups and Brazilian teams who are supposedly among the top of those talent out there, and MiBR wants to pull out of that tank and get Meyern to join and replace Lucas on that roster. And now we look at Furia. Furia has locked down contracts for at least 4 of those guys. They're not going anywhere. They're not letting anyone go. So MiBR, where do they pull from? The Sharks, a rising team out there, I should fairly say, in terms of, prominence in the Brazilian scene out there. Certainly a name we have seen more in the past 6 months than we have in the past couple of years as well. And with that, though, is anyone surprised that MiBR needs changes? I don't think anyone is debating the void is still there, the deficit is still there, and Lucas did not fill either one of those on this lineup. I think the other side of the debate is, though, is this the right time to be making changes, right? Who knows when it comes time for 2020 majors, maybe not too much time left. Is this the right change? Is this the right move? Nobody knows anymore when it comes to MiBR, but I think we can all agree no one is surprised by this happening. Lucas probably is not the one that is going to fix this team. We now know that, and they're going to make a change, hopefully, when it comes to the Sharks and Meyern to join the roster and replace Lucas on that ever-growing lineup, by the way. It's looking like a pretty big roster. We'll see if it does go through. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy breaking down CSGO esports gaming news here all day long. Until then, take care of yourselves, drink some coffee, drink some orange juice. I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow.